Hey guys, Jason here. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 steps before recording guitar. Alright guys, let's dive right into these 5 steps before you record your guitar tracks. Follow these 5 steps first. Step number 1. This is very basic, very preliminary, but make sure your guitar is in tune. Seriously, don't just tune it by ear. Yeah, don't do that. Make sure you're plugged into an actual tuner, guys, whether it be a pedal or some hardware piece, or if you're just tuning through your studio, your recording software, whatever. Just make sure you're plugged into a tuner and that you actually tune your guitar. Because what'll happen is you'll get midway through the album, or maybe even complete the album, then go back and listen to it and realize, wait a minute, I'm sharp here or flat here, or maybe the guitar's not in tune with the bass. Whatever the case may be, just make sure you tune your guitar before you record. Now, a little tip to go with step 1, and this is what I do personally. I actually make sure my guitar's in fine tune before I record every single guitar track. I know that sounds tedious and it sounds like a big pain in the ass. Actually, it's a very big pain in the ass. But I find it necessary because when you're recording music and you're going to put that product out there to your fans, that's out there forever, and it's a testament to your abilities and your character and all that good stuff. Tune your guitar. Step number 2 before you record your guitar tracks. You have to check the levels, your recording levels, and what I mean by that is the levels on your interface, whatever interface you're plugged into or whatever device that you're plugged into that's capturing your sound. Make sure those levels aren't peaking. And you also have to make sure they're loud enough so that you're getting a good signal. Here's a quick example. I'm using the PreSonus Quantum 2 interface. I just got this. You guys probably saw this on my last video when I was unboxing it. Very cool interface here. But you can see the levels here as I'm playing. It's peaking quite a bit. So I want to get that down to a reasonable volume. Okay, that's about where I want to be. Now, you won't always turn the volume up or down on the actual interface itself. You may have to go back to the source. If you're recording the amp, you might have to turn your amp up or down a little bit. Or if you're using software like plugins, you might have to mess around with the settings within that plugin. But just make sure you're not peaking, and of course make sure it's loud enough that you're capturing the sound. More than half the time it's an issue of peaking because we're metal players and we like to play loud. Now for step number 3, and this is us guitar players' most loved and sometimes most hated topic. It is tone. Make sure you have a good guitar tone captured. In other words, you might be playing in your room or in the studio, you might be playing through an amp and it sounds cool out here, but then once you throw it into the studio and you hear the output, it might sound like crap. Now, a lot of times that's going to depend on your mic placement. You want your mic placed in an area, towards a speaker. And here's kind of an example. This is kind of where I always put my mics. But you want it placed at a point to where it's going to capture the tone that you're hearing, the tone that you're going for. That can make a world of difference. And even if you're playing with plugins, for example, you want to make sure you capture a good tone with the plugin, or if you're playing through hardware, something like the Axe FX or the Kemper, you still want to make sure that tone is good going in. So don't just plug into the studio and start recording. Mess around with your tone and your settings and just make sure you're happy with that tone before going in, because the less you have to do after you record that track, the better it's going to be. Step number 4 is when we get into some testing. And what I want you to do for this step is go ahead and record a song. It doesn't have to be the full song. It can be just like the first 30 seconds or maybe the chorus. But you want to capture that tone and you want to capture it with the other instruments as well. So on top of recording your guitar, I also want you to get a drum track and a bass track in there at minimum. If you have more tracks to add, you don't have to add all those now. Again, we just want to get just some sort of mix down so we can see how that guitar is going to sit into the mix, especially with the drums and bass. If you don't have your drummer readily available, just use something like a drum machine, like Tune Tracks, Easy Drummer, Superior Drummer, or if you have something in your studio, just lay some kind of beat down that's similar to what the song's going to be, and just lay like a dummy bass track down. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. Again, we're just getting an idea of how that guitar tone's going to sit in the mix with other instruments. Now for the fifth and final step before you record your guitar tracks, and that is listen to the song that you just recorded, step number 4. Listen to that in multiple sources. Don't just listen to it in the studio and think, wow, it sounds awesome in my studio speakers up here in my premium sound system. Don't do that, because you might get, to your headphones or to the car, to whatever other source, and it might sound like total crap. And what I found more than often is we have a tendency to push the bottom end up on our guitars a little more than we should, because again, we can make it sound amazing up here in the studio coming out of these monitors, and some of you have more advanced monitoring systems than I do up here, and then you can really push that bottom end and it sounds great. But then when you get to your car, to headphones, or whatever normal listening source, that bottom end's just boomy, it's overpowering, it muffles the sound, the whole mix is just muddy. So be careful with that, especially if you're recording with a live amp. Be careful with how much bass you're putting in there, how much bottom end you're putting in there, because that could indeed drown out your entire mix when you go to listen to it on a normal source. And your music has to sound good on those normal sources, because that's where most people listen to their music. Now, that's the 5 steps before recording your guitar tracks, but I have actually a little bonus tip for you, and this is kind of an extra thing you can do. Once you lay that first track and once you listen to it in the multiple sources, I want to encourage you to play around with some different tones as well. So you record your guitar tracks, you record the song, and then you listen to it in multiple sources, but come back to the studio and make some adjustments. Keep that one song as your bass line. No, not that kind of bass line. I meant like your bass line, like your starting point. You guys know what I mean, come on. Anyway, so that's your bass line, and then maybe tweak the tones a little bit and play around and record another version of that song, and then go back and listen to them and compare them in multiple sources, and that will just get you that much closer to the sound and overall mix and tone that you're looking for. So guys, I hope you enjoyed these 5 steps before recording your guitar tracks. I really hope this helps some of you guys. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll respond to every single one of them. And also stay tuned for more recording videos. Like I said, I just started recording this 4th studio album called Masterpiece. And of course, I went through my 5 steps here, and I'll be going through them again because I'm about to start recording more guitar tracks after I finish this video. But definitely leave me any questions that you might have, and I'll be putting out some more recording videos in this venture of recording this album, and we'll share some more tips with you guys. So until then, keep it metal.